JJ Redick could be on his way to the Dallas Mavericks for a pivotal set of home games as the Mavericks look to make a Western Conference playoff push down the stretch. This is the gray area right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports. Here on YouTube, JJ Redick provided an injury update on the Old Man and the Three podcast, his own podcast, saying that he is going to be practicing on Saturday ahead of the game against the San Antonio Spurs, ramping up 5-on-5 work, doing live work in game situations with coaches as he continues to recover from that non-surgical procedure that he had on his right heel back in early March. Of course, JJ Redick, coming over from the New Orleans Pelicans to the Dallas Mavericks, has not made an appearance yet in a game for the Mavericks, who are 20-8 in their last 28 ball games, 6-1 specifically in their last 7. Now have an opportunity to see a guy in JJ Redick who in his prior 15 games before his right heel injury was shooting 46% from the three-point line and giving the New Orleans Pelicans that kind of terrific shooting from the three-point line, which is going to be extremely important for a Mavericks team who this season is 17th in the NBA overall at 36.2% from downtown. So with JJ Redick ramping up on-court work, 5-on-5 work, also doing game situations with coaches as he continues to ramp up, he says that he could be available within the next couple of games for the Dallas Mavericks. When you start looking at their schedule, they play San Antonio on Sunday, then back it up by taking on the Philadelphia 76ers before going on the road to take on the Memphis Grizzlies before returning home for a set of pivotal home games, starting with the New York Knicks. Included in that is the Sacramento Kings and also the Los Angeles Lakers. So it appears that JJ Redick could be on his way very, very soon for the Dallas Mavericks, just in time for the final 21 games of this season. The Mavericks currently right now 29-22, 7th in the Western Conference. They are only one game behind the Portland Trail Blazers, 2.5 games behind the Los Angeles Lakers for the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Obviously, it looks like it's a 2-game lead because, yes, the Portland Trail Blazers hold a 1-game lead overall in the standings, but it might as well be 2 games because they won the season series and hold the tiebreaker over the Dallas Mavericks. But nonetheless, good news still for a Mavericks team that had a tremendous win over, yes, a Giannis-less Milwaukee Buck basketball team, 116-101, where Kristaps Porzingis was absolutely spectacular with 11 fourth-quarter points and really turned it up once he entered into the final 8 minutes of the basketball game, giving this team a 20-8 mark over its last 28 basketball games. Just remember, back in early February, this team was 9-14, 14th in the Western Conference standings, and looking really bad on both offense and defense. They have turned that around to a 20-8 stretch and now find themselves firmly in the mix to find themselves getting to a top 6 slot, especially as the schedule continues to ease up as the rest of the regular season finishes out. As I mentioned, 21 basketball games left at 29-22. JJ Redick's eventual debut for this basketball team will provide veteran presence, a three-point shooting threat, and another way to weaponize Luka Doncic with his ability to pass the basketball and use his vision to create open shooters along the perimeter. Obviously, Dorian Finney-Smith, who JJ Redick also shouted out in the podcast, continuing to play extremely well with his newfound aggressiveness, his willing to take shots from the three-point line, open shots when he has them. He has an opportunity to continue to get better and learn from a guy in JJ Redick. When you have a 15-year veteran who is a career 42% three-point shooter, you can't help but get better as a team shooting the ball from the three-point line. More specifically, your ability to work on the kinds of fundamentals that a JJ Redick, with his maniacal workout and regimen that he has as far as his shooting preparation and his overall game preparation is concerned. Not only will he provide you a really good shooting threat on the perimeter, but more importantly, as a veteran and a locker room presence, really help this Mavericks team get down through the final 21 games of this season, put themselves in the best position to try and get out of that dreaded play-in situation where they currently find themselves in right now. But more importantly, if you make it into the playoffs, this is a guy who's been through the playoff wars and understands what it's like to go through grueling series in the NBA's most heated pressure cooker, which are the NBA playoffs. Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, much has been bandied about their on-court connection and the lack thereof. You saw a little bit of that thaw out, if you will, in the game against the Milwaukee Bucks, where Kristaps Porzingis received 2 passes, not 1, but 2 passes from your man Luka Doncic in order to hit a couple of threes that really helped spur on the comeback in the fourth quarter against the Milwaukee Bucks. So good news for the Mavericks coming. JJ Redick, it appears, is on his way back. He says that in the next couple of games, he hopes to be available as he is ramping up on-court workouts, 5-on-5 situations, live with coaches, continuing to progress after having that non-surgical right heel procedure back in early March, is continuing to ramp up and get himself in position. At first, there was no specific timetable about when JJ Redick would join this basketball team and make his debut. He now definitively provides us an opportunity to know when he could be coming, and that's sooner rather than later. And it would be fantastic for him to be able to make his home debut here for the Dallas Mavericks within the next couple of games. Again, games against the San Antonio Spurs, the top of the heap in terms of the Philadelphia 76ers, before going on the road to take on a Ja Morant Memphis Grizzlies basketball team that's been playing well over the last couple of weeks, before taking on teams like the Knicks, the Sacramento Kings, and maybe the returning LeBron James, who's obviously been out for the last several weeks with a sprained ankle. Anthony Davis, it appears, is going to be on his way back very soon for Tinseltown also. So when you start looking at the Western Conference standings, games against teams that are right there in front of them and behind them to ensure that they're holding off teams like the San Antonio Spurs and the Memphis Grizzlies, teams that are in front of them like the Los Angeles Lakers, where you have a couple of games in your own building against them. You have an opportunity to really make a difference as far as the Western Conference standings are concerned, especially when you've seen Portland start to slip back a little bit, not playing well against the Los Angeles Clippers a few days ago. This team slipping back just enough to put this Mavericks team within striking distance of being able to get out of that dreaded 7 spot and find themselves securing a Western Conference playoff spot by getting into the top 6. They are going to need to do so to ensure themselves that they are making the playoffs in this year's Western Conference. We all know the play-in situation and where the Mavericks do not want to be. They have put themselves now in a 20-8 stretch in the best position possible with the final 21 games left to really put the pedal to the metal and find the measure of consistency that they have found now over the last 28 games, where they have been a top 10 defensive team over the last month, a top 5 offensive rating over the last month as far as this Mavericks offense is concerned. This team, for the most part, is clicking on all cylinders. Yes, they had the disappointing loss against the Houston Rockets, but for the most part, this team is clicking on the kinds of cylinders that most folks expected this team to click on when you're getting the contributions from Dorian Finney-Smith. Kristaps Porzingis has been really good, especially during the second half of the year. We all know what Luka Doncic is as a first-team All-NBA performer, but also Jalen Brunson being a leading Sixth Man of the Year candidate. Contributions from a lot of different guys. Even Nicolo Melli got into the act with a couple of threes against the Milwaukee Bucks. Everybody is chipping in, it seems like right now, for the Dallas Mavericks, which is extremely important going forward. So again, the major update though, JJ Redick appears to be on his way for the Dallas Mavericks. He says, hopefully within the next couple of games, he will be available as he's coming back from that non-surgical right heel procedure that he had to deal with inflammation in that right ankle. A guy who we mentioned in his previous 15 games before the injury was shooting 46% from the three-point line, averaging 8.7 points this season before the injury occurred. He has now an opportunity to join a Mavericks basketball team that is clicking on all cylinders and just at the right time to get them in position to make a run at this thing called the 6th seed in the Western Conference. All of this to say, strap up for the next 21 basketball games. That is how many is left for this Mavericks team. Is what has been an up and down season for a team that's dealt with adversity through COVID, winter storms, postponing games, dealing with a stretch where they were 9-14, at one point losing 6 basketball games in a row. All the noise surrounding the inconsistencies of this basketball team seem like a distant memory now for a team that is finally playing to the kind of potential on both ends of the floor that they thought that they were capable of coming into the season. And now you add a 15-year veteran in the mix in one JJ Redick. This thing is going to get fun over the next 21 games for the Dallas Mavericks. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to subscribe to my channel right here by hitting that subscribe button and getting the notifications for when the videos drop. This has been another episode of The Gray Area. We'll talk to you later. Peace.